Good morning, my lovely students. Today we will talk about punishment at schools. So we will talk about its types and I'll try to explain you which kind of punishment punishment we have and in which countries. Okay, if you are ready, let's start. So we will start with corporal punishment or physical abuse. It's called, as you see, corporal punishment or physical abuse is still allowed as a method of discipline in public schools in 23 states. So as you see, in 23 countries, in 23 states, it's not allowed to use punishments. But in Uzbekistan, it's banned. To use the corporal punishment is not acceptable in our country. But unfortunately, some teachers still practice it. Corporal punishment can take many forms, like including shaking children, grabbing, spanking, and many other ways. If a teacher or administrator washes a child's mouth with soap, forces him to stand for long periods of time, won't let him to go to the bathroom, lifts him by his clothing or neck, or subjects him to other forms of rough physical handling. This is also considered as a corporal punishment. So, as you see, there were various systems of corporal punishment used in the distant past, those for adults and for children either at school or at home. The punishments which might be of most interest to school English readers are those which school children underwent either at school or at home. It was often the case that a child who had misbehaved at school would be punished there and also at home when his or her parents would found out about it. Not so long ago, common punishments included caning, either 2 strokes on the outstretched hand administered by the teacher in front of the class, or up to 6 strokes on the backside inflicted by the headmaster. In Scotland, a leather strap was used instead of a thin bamboo cane. Oh my God, it's even a little bit strange to hear about it because in our country, we will never use this kind of punishment styles. So minor offenses such as persistent talking in class might warrant a period of standing in a corner of the classroom, facing the walls and subject to the ridicule of one's classmates. Long ago, the child standing in the corner might be required to wear a conical hat with the word "dunce" written on it to increase the ridicule and emphasize his or her stupidity. Some teachers favored the giving of lines, that's to say, requiring one to write out by hand on paper repetitive lines of something relevant to the offense. This might be something like "I mustn't talk in class," like 50,000, 50, 100, 300, or even 500 times. At the end of this, one's hand ached and the lesson was learned. Until next time, most of us discovered that it was easier to write the words downwards in columns, those like must, or not, etc. To to teach this strategy. The teacher might require the malefactor to copy a piece of prose, perhaps from Shakespeare, which meant paying much more attention to what one was writing. So, for example, even I had this kind of experience with my teacher. At that time, I was late to the lesson and I wrote like lines. I remember this day and I will never like forgive it. So another punishment was detention, a kind of imprisonment in the junior school. This might simply be a matter of staying in the classroom during the playtime when all the other children could go outside. But in the more senior schools, it could mean like staying back at school after everyone else had gone home in the evening. In my school, detentions were held for half an hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But if one accumulated three of these, a Saturday morning detention was substituted. This required 3 hours extra work of one day when one was normally free. So even this kind of like styles of punishment you can see here. So actually, the teachers didn't like giving detentions any more than the students because they meant that the teacher would have to stay behind the supervisor as well. So it was a kind of punishment for them. It was even possible to bargain with some teachers and offer to accept a caning instead of a detention. Caning was only ever given to boys, which Todd was grossly unfair, but that was in the days before the women's liberation. So corporal punishment of male students has, in most cultures, like generally been more prevalent and more severe than that of female students in Queensland, Australia. So school corporal punishment of girls was banned in 1934, but for boys in private like schools, it is still legal as of like 2010 in Singapore and Malaysia. Schoolboys are routinely canned for misbehavior, while the caning of girls at school is forbidden by law. In the USA, statistics consistently show that about 80% of school panelings are of boys. So here you can see the picture. It's about punishment. So I think that here the boy asks his dad to punish him. Maybe he got the mark 2 out of 5. That's why he's worrying about it. So for the most part, courts like don't recognize any protected right to enroll in a specific class. This means that if as part of maintaining discipline, your child has been permanently removed from one class, there is no official requirement for notice or a hearing. If your child has been removed from a school and there is no suitable replacement class, or if the class is a requirement for graduation or promotion, you may have a stronger claim that there should have been notice and a hearing. So in general, it's unlikely you would succeed in challenging a removal from class on due process grounds. So for a long time, most courts have viewed participation in clubs and sports as a privilege and not right. Okay, so not many courts have stated concisely if a student is entitled to notice and hearing before being excluded from graduation ceremonies. Yes, here you can see the student with diploma. Let's continue. If your school district provides free busing, then your child probably has a protected right to take the bus to school. This is especially true if getting your child to school without free busing is very difficult or impossible. So as with emergency suspensions from school, the school may terminate your child's busing services without notice or hearing if his or her presence on the bus is believed to be dangerous to others. Okay, it's just for like your enjoyment. Thank you for attention. Goodbye.